A special mention to today's sponsor, TaylorMade Sports Coaching, Kent and Surrey's premier sports education service for all things curricular and extracurricular, offering a one-stop shop for all of your sporting educational needs. Visit tailormadesportscoaching.co.uk for all inquiries. Discounts available for chatting on listeners for our Exmouth sports camps. Simply quote, chatting on upon booking. TaylorMade Sports Coaching. Be the best you can be. We're chatting on today with Mel Jeffries, Head of Academy at Leyton Orient, FA Coach Educator. Been in the game a very long time, lots of experience, top of his game. Lovely to meet you, lovely to see you, Mel. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
All right, just come straight from training, so we appreciate you coming in today.
Yeah.
Just like to go back, first of all, before we go into the academy stuff and talk about the football stuff, just a little bit about you, where you grew up, family life, school life, all that sort of stuff, mate.
Okay. Yeah, so born in South East London, King's College Hospital, Denmark Hill.
Yeah.
Mum was from there. Yeah, mum was. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Mum was South East London. Her family all South East London. My dad was from the Midlands, Wolverhampton. So yeah, growing up, we moved out of London pretty quick. I was born in London, in Dulwich, lived in Parkhall Road, but we escaped quite quickly.
Yeah.
One of the new sort of towns. Letchworth Garden City was the new town that was built up, and then Stevenage was one of the new developments. So Dad decided to move out to Stevenage when I was quite young. It felt though as if every weekend we went back to my nan and granddad's in South East London. You know, it probably didn't. You know, but it felt like that. So I was around there quite a bit. Lots of memories of sort of on the estate, playing with the kids there. My uncle, my mum was one of six. My uncle, youngest brother, was only a year older than me. So sort of, I remember we used to go down there. We'd be out playing around the estate. A lot of football going on. Them times where you had a green in the middle of the flats, the blocks of flats, and the dads used to come out and play. All the brothers. All the uncles, and you know, some massive games on the green. They were the sort of memories, and also the memories in Stevenage of sort of playing football. My dad was the manager, the coach, if you like. Started at sort of 6 or 7. At that time, we played 11v11 on full-size pitches with full-size goals in 2-year age groups.
Yeah. So
1 year you was the youngest, playing kids that were almost 2 years older than you, and then you got to be the oldest for a season where you're playing against kids, you know, almost 2 years younger than you. So those sort of memories of growing up, just playing sort of grassroots football. I was a good player, but my managers and coaches didn't realise it, unfortunately. So I didn't really play above sort of school, county, that sort of level. And yeah, just sort of developed through that and had a love of the game. My dad was really good at, you know, building a love of the game. We were season ticket holders at Chelsea. Went through some tough times with them, you know, in the 70s and 80s, when they just developed the Stamford Bridge. Season ticket holders there for sort of 4 or 5 seasons. And just grew up sort of loving football and being around it a lot, you know. Going to football with my dad on a Sunday, played on a Sunday morning. So, you know, going to watch that and being around that. And lots of the other dads' boys were there, sons. We just have a little game on the side and things like that, really. And I suppose just going through that, having that love of the game, I played probably until I was sort of 40, not at a great level, but until I was sort of 40 years old, I kept playing. And got really, I suppose, into the coaching element from my son. I took that as dads do. You know, I turned up with a pair of trainers at training one day, and I was suddenly the manager or the coach, and used to coach his little team. Buntingford we'd moved to by then.
Yeah.
And yeah, just took it on from there, really. He was a good footballer. He got scouted by Norwich when he was 8. We used to take him to a little centre in Potter's Bar. They had sort of a development centre or a satellite centre, if you want to call it that. When he was 8, he was playing there, and he got signed as an under 9. I used to just watch the coaches there working, and thinking, this could be for me. I really want to get qualified, because I wasn't, you know, watch me coaching, reflecting on my coaching. They were a cut above, and just decided really to sort of get qualified off the back of that, really.
Love that. So was your dad a big inspiration because your dad managed your team, did he?
Yeah. So my dad managed my team through till I was probably 16.
Yeah.
And that's when I went obviously in the men's football. So he took me from sort of eights. There was a little gap in the middle where I left and I joined a new school. So I went and played with my mates at a different club for a season. But didn't really take to that, and then went back to our sort of original club in Stevenage, Fairlands Youth.
So that kind of went full circle from your dad managing and coaching you to then you having your son and then you managing and coaching him. So that's a lovely story. And
yeah.
That's
and my son now coaches his son, which is my grandson.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so he's just started playing.
Following
himself.
in the footsteps as well. Is he doing his badges, your boy?
He did. So he's done his level 1.
Yeah, nice.
I think he's going to go on to his UEFA C. I think
Yeah.
my grandson has just moved to because they stream them now. He's moved to a different team, so my boy's not coaching as much. They'd already got 2 coaches, so but he's getting back into it. He enjoys it.
That's great.
Yeah,
love it. So what county did you play for?
Hertfordshire.
You played for Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
So it's good level.
Yeah,
it's a really good level.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. I mean, I was on the fringes of it. I wasn't a sort of a regular player. I was in the under-18s at that time at Ware and Royston.
Yeah.
But I never really featured in the first teams or anything like that. Played a couple of games for reserves and that sort of thing. So I've never really, an established sort of non-league football.
What position?
I played at right back.
Right back.
Yeah,
nice.
Anyone can play right back. So.
Yeah, well, so they say. I don't know about now. You've got to get up and down now.
Oh, yeah, massive.
It's a little bit
different now, definitely.
It's a little bit different. So, what were you like at school? What were your school days like? I mean, you moved from Dulwich to
Stevenage.
Yeah,
to Stevenage.
Yeah. And was that a big change for you there?
Yeah, I mean, in sort of memories-wise, my first school was Broome Barnes, which is quite a small school. Memory, sort of an infant school, and we moved quite quickly to the Chels area of Stevenage, transfer school. So I'd moved school quite quickly from maybe reception or first year into sort of second year at Lodge Farm School.
You're right.
Stayed there, and then I went to Nobel Senior School. Which is now it's in Chels, but it previously it was at sort of Telford Avenue, which is a different area of Stevenage.
Were you a good scholar? Were you academic? Or did you just want to be on the football pitch?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was academic. I was okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sort of up there with the Stephen Hawkins or anyone like that. But I could get my way through.
Yeah.
I enjoyed school. I had a good sort of group of mates at Nobel, and we had a good football team there. We had a good rugby team, played a lot of rugby. So for a few seasons, we sort of went through a lot of good PE staff who really sort of, infused you and engaged you. And I did all the sports, so I was in the team for the school team, at least for all of the sports, cricket,
just
hockey,
a natural sports.
Rugby, just did all athletics, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then we moved when I was about 14 to Buntingford. My mum and dad at that time moved to a little village called Widial.
Right.
And then we moved there.
Okay.
And then I went to school in Buntingford, Freeman College.
Yeah.
So
So did you did you go straight into coaching, Mel, or once you went to college, what were you studying? What was your career path from there?
When I left school?
Yeah.
So when I left school 16, did an apprenticeship in mechanical engineering.
Okay.
So I want to be a set of capstan, automatic capstans.
That's quite
setters.
That's quite intelligent stuff, Mel.
It wasn't that. It's a lot of muck and oil. You're up to your armpits in oil. But you had to read technical drawings and things like that. You had to make tools and what have you.
Yeah.
Sort of turning metals and then eventually I went into a company that developed sort of plastics and things like that, sort of machining plastics. And I left there when I was about 21, 22, and went and joined Sainsbury's.
Right.
Because I could earn more money loading lorries than I could, machining plastics at that time.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is a bit of a sad reflection, but once again, Sainsbury's was brilliant. It gave me loads of sort of free time to be able to go and do football with my boy. It gave me an opportunity. I was doing shift work, so I could do a lot more sort of free time around work. So it fitted in with sort of a home life sort of pattern quite well. It allowed my wife to go to work during the day if I was working nights and things like that. So as a family, it was good for us really. Stayed there for 17 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So and that's when I broke away from there or took redundancy from there. they moved their depot from Buntingford out to sort of Waltham Abbey. I decided I took the redundancy, and that's when I went into football sort of full time.
What age was that?
Oh, blimey, I can't remember. I'd have to think back.
So while you were working at Sainsbury's, were you doing your badges? Were you coaching on the side? So what age did you start doing your badges, Mel? I'm guessing you started with a level 1.
Yeah, no, there was no level 1 then. It was sort of the JTM, it was called, Junior Team Managers.
Okay.
Equivalent to sort of a level 1. It was a Junior Team Managers. I actually missed that badge. I didn't do that badge. I went straight to sort of level 2, UEFA C at the time, it was called.
Yeah.
And I did that when my boy was probably, what was he? He'd been sort of 8 or 10. So probably about 1998, something like that. Okay. Maybe a little bit before that. 96, 98, something like that. Did my UEFA C. And I was really fortunate at that time. I'd almost got myself an apprenticeship in football coaching because on the course that I went with Bedfordshire FA and did it in Luton, Gypsy Lane, Vauxhall's Works Ground. And the fella there, Robbie O'Keefe, he was just learning to be an FA Coach Educator, if you like, if that's the word. He'd been mentored through. So he was sort of leading the course with another coach educator called Colin Morris, who was highly, highly experienced from Leeds. And he came down and delivered those courses. And I was really fortunate. Robbie had just started what they had called a PACE League, which was all sort of the National League clubs had started college programs.
Okay.
So he'd literally just started at Hitchin Town. He was the manager at Hitchin Town, and he started a college program for them. Those boys were then full-time on the grass, Monday to Friday, out playing non-league football if they were at that level on a Saturday. And he just started that, and I used to come off for nights at Sainsbury's and go and sort of throw the cones out for him, you know.
Just get involved.
Yeah, just get involved and watch. Yeah. And because it was a good place, it was a base where they held the courses. There was always sort of a UEFA C or a UEFA B course going on, and they used those boys, our players, to play on the courses.
To do the sessions.
Yeah,
for
to
the
do
coaches.
the sessions for the coaches. So it was really good. So I was around it like loads.
Yeah,
loads.
Just learning constantly.
Yeah, just learning, watching, you know,
Sponging.
from different people.
Yeah.
You know, the UEFA B courses, you know, there's Frank O'Brien, Tommy Yalden, Colin Reid, people like that, who were delivering those courses, really highly experienced people.
Yeah.
And I just sort of naturally progressed quite quickly. Robbie sort of said to me, look, I'm going to start a second year group. Do you want to stay? Come and do the first year group. I'll do the second year group. And sort of went from there quite quickly onto the UEFA B. And then progressed through to the UEFA A. So within 5 years, I'd sort of done C, B, and was on my UEFA A.
Yeah, straight through.
Yeah.
Natural.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, fortunate, I would say, in that I put the hours in.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's not fortunate, though. That's hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it is. But I took to it, you know. I loved it. I loved being around it.
Yeah.
My wife was really supportive, so that was good. My job allowed me to do it once again, so that was good.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was sort of a natural progression, if you like.
Nice. So what was your first job as a coach? At what point did you go from doing your badges, helping out a little bit, and then going, this is actually a career for me now. I've actually got a job here, and I can make some money out of it?
I'm not saying I made money out of it.
Well,
yeah. But to be fair, I first went in full time in around 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
But previous to that, I had worked at a number of academies, a centre of excellence at that time, just on a part-time basis.
Yeah.
So I'd worked at every club, United, except for Man United. So I'd worked at Peterborough United, Colchester, Southend, Cambridge United. So once again, I had some real good people that I could, you know, work with and learn off, you know, in those settings.
Yeah.
Until I, you know, did decide to take the plunge and go in at Colchester United. I was a 14s coach at the time at Colchester United when Joe Dunn went up to the first team. He was the 18s coach. He went up to the first team with Geraint Williams. And my boss there at the time, Steve Downey, was head of the academy, offered me the role. He said, would you like, you know, to come in and take the youth team? So that was my first sort of...
So that's the 16s to 18s?
14s, I was there.
I was the 14s?
I was doing the 14s at Colchester, yeah.
What age is the youth team?
18s.
The eight,
Under
so
18s.
you took the 18s from
I
there?
took the under 18s.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so took them on a full-time
Nice.
basis. You know, so they was in on the grass 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And then playing on a Saturday, day off on a Sunday.
Yeah.
College on a Wednesday. But I was in the building, you know, all the time really.
How was that step up from doing it part-time to then doing it full-time with the youth team?
You know, transformational really.
Yeah.
You know, because you're in it full time, you're immersed into it.
Yeah.
You know, full time. There's so much else going on apart from, you know, you're playing for the 14s. You're playing in a 2-hour session. You're turning up. You know, you're doing your 2-hour session. You're reflecting on it, and then there may be sort of in 6 weeks' time you may have a parents' meeting or something like that, twice or 3 times a season. With the full-time program, the boys are on it full-time. You know, they're apprenticeship scholars, so you're with them. You know, all day, and you're looking after them.
Yeah.
You know, the whole development of them. You know, not just the football. Them as sort of young people as well, young men.
Yeah.
Coming into the game.
Yeah.
Because you know, really, speaking realistically, there ain't many that's going to come through from there and make a career as a professional footballer. So it's about developing them, you know, as individuals, as men, you know.
Yeah, no, you're doing a lot of off the pitch stuff as well. I get
definitely.
that. Do you think, just touching on that, do you think there's enough being done for those lads that don't make it at the end of their 18s?
Yeah, I think it's one of the things since EPP that has really come on.
Yeah.
That now there is, you know, proper sort of aftercare package, if you want to call it that. There's certainly a lot of support and help about, you know, for players now. There's a lot of transitioning from playing into sort of other careers within football. So a lot of the boys going into analysis, medical, coaching, those sorts of things. So where I am at the moment at Leyton Orient, you know, we just had a boy, a young boy showed a proficiency for coaching, because the boys do their coaching badges as well. Why they're part of that through the PFA.
Okay.
And he sort of didn't get a professional contract, still playing non-league to a good level, but has come back in with us as a coach.
That's great.
So there is a big support package.
That's
for
really
those
nice.
boys.
What are the sort of numbers, Mel, that do get a pro at the end of the 18s?
Yeah, so I think for the 18, so there's quite a high percentage. If you get to that sort of apprenticeship level, I think the transition either into a third year scholar or third year apprentice, we call them, or a first year pro or getting a pro contract, something like 45% in our club.
That's really high.
And across the board, actually, to be fair.
That's really high.
Yeah, so that is high once you get to that, but you're only talking about sort of 16 or 18 boys that get to that at every club.
Sure.
So the pool is quite, you know, it's smaller.
Okay.
If you think through 9s to 16s, we've got something like 120 boys.
Yeah.
The percentage of those that get to the, you know, that 18 or 20 that we take as apprentices is a lot smaller.
Yeah.
You know, it's something around 2%.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. How many of the lads that get a pro would make a first team appearance for Leyton Orient? Roughly.
I guess would make a first team appearance. I mean, there's quite a few opportunities now. So with the cups, you know, you've got the Virtue Trophy, you've got London Senior Cups, things like that. I think if you count it as a bona fide official fixture in the Football League, I couldn't give you a percentage on that. We look at how many minutes we contribute.
Okay.
So academy players, how many minutes those academy players contribute to the first team. And we're currently around 11% of pitch time. Now that could be people like Daniel Happe, who's been there since he was 12, obviously an established first team player, plays probably every game. Whereas there's other boys that might come sit on the bench, Zeko Biero, who made sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 appearances. So he won't contribute as much as Happe at the moment, because obviously he's developing.
Yeah.
But I think in total minutes we're contributing about 11% of the playing minutes.
Okay,
in the first team.
Are you happy with that? Is that where you want to be?
We'd obviously want it higher, of course.
Higher,
Of course you would. But I think that does show that we have a pathway at Leyton Orient between the academy and the first team.
Yeah.
This season we've just introduced an under-21s group. So we've always had a group of young pros or third-year apprentices, but now we're sort of trying to establish that and grow that group, because very rare that the boys at 18, when they finish their apprenticeship, are ready to go into that first, especially at League One.
It's a big jump, right?
Championship, Premiership. It is a big jump.
Yeah.
So lots of them make their debut in the Virtue Trophy and those sort of cup games. Really, they're the opportunities for them.
Yeah.
But obviously, we're looking to build on that, and we think introducing the 21s group gives them that next stepping stone, if you like. So we've got that now, a games programme for them. We've gone into the Premier League Cup, so that gives us 6 games initially on a league basis against Category 1 and Category 2 clubs. So we've played in that for the first time this season. We've drawn Blackburn, Coventry and Watford, which is brilliant. Yeah. You know, big clubs, established under 21s groups and Category 1 and Category 2 academies. And we've been competitive. So that's been a positive for us.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a great catchment area. Obviously, you're in East London, fantastic catchment area, as we know. How do you deal with, like, you must get good players in, and then you've got like West Ham coming in, or Arsenal or Tottenham and coming in, and do they try and nick your players? Like, what's the situation there?
To be fair, they're all very, very respectful.
Okay.
Yeah, very respectful. We've never had sort of any sort of ill dealings with any of those top clubs, and even your Newcastles, your Man Cities are coming down, into London and are interested in players, in London, and we've always had a good professional relationship with all those clubs. It's give and take, because they might have players that come out of their system. We can take them.
Sure.
So there's a bit of a give and take. There's rules. There's quite strict conditions around how players are approached and things like that. And as I say, they've always been very, very respectful. So we have good relationships with those football clubs.
Nice, like that. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's good to hear. What sort of age are you looking at a player and going, he's got a chance, this kid?
I think when they start to get to sort of 16 and into that sort of 17, 18 group, you're really sort of thinking, okay, if he does, progresses, if he can add this, he can go to that next level. Yeah. And I think, we're just trying to lower age groups down, just to sort of look, right, are they that next contract, are they that next stage, that next registration, if you like. Okay. And trying to predict that with them. We're getting boys in the system at 7 now, sort of pre-academy, and 8, and we're trying to look, what does that look like, at 9 and 10 and 11, and and then it becomes more difficult. I guess when they get to sort of 13, you're looking at a 2-year contract or registration. At 14, you're looking at a 2-year registration. So you're really trying to predict over 2 years then. But it's difficult. Yeah. And I'm sure every club, every academy manager would sit in front of you and say they probably get more wrong than they get right. Yeah. But I think we just got to keep doing what we think is right in those situations.
Of course, I mean, it's a real tough one as well, because kids obviously develop at different ages, don't they?
Absolutely.
Especially physically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you look for players that are physically developed at a younger age, or are you looking for more technical ability?
We look at the whole package if we can.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you recognise now that it's rare that there's any professional footballer that's not athletic. Yeah. But when I mean athletic, it doesn't mean that they're 6'6" and 18 stone and and bolts. It means, can they compete, and can they? We're very big on duels. Yeah. So if a player is small in stature, can they physically still compete? Can they get around the pitch? Can they affect the game? But it is a physicality is a big part of the game. I think if you ask physical development coaches or sports science coaches, it's a big change in the game now. It's probably one of the biggest areas that's developed over the game now. If you remember, when I was coaching the 14s at Colchester United, we didn't have physical development. We didn't have sports science coaches. I did all of that myself. I'd put the cones out. I'd do the runs. I'd do the agility work. That's a big change and a big development in the game for the better. Yeah. So we've got boys now at 14 on gym programs, not lifting massive weights or anything ridiculous like that, but actually getting used to, the techniques of lifting, and we're profiling them and we're testing them against sort of data that we've got. So it's the whole package. Clearly as well, the younger age, we are looking for that technical ability. We're looking at physical ability. Can they compete? Can they affect the game? But also sort of socially, how do they fit in with the group? Are they resilient as well? Do they give up easily? If they lose the ball, will they get it back? What's their attitude and application like? So it's a whole package really across. I'm sure you've heard of it, the four corners.
The four corner model, right?
Yeah, the four corner model. Not
which
so much.
Which is what for the people watching, Mel? Is physical.
Yeah, so it's technical.
Yeah, technical.
Yeah, physical.
Yeah.
Social. Yeah. Psychological.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's
social's a massive part. So people don't realise. They're just thinking they've got to be good on the pitch. They've got to be strong. But social's huge, right?
Yeah.
How they behave with their teammates off the pitch. How they conduct themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Their attitude to learning. Are they good learners? Do they want to? Do they recognise the importance of the team? So it's not just about the individual.
Yeah.
Now, okay, clearly at younger age groups we're developing individuals. We're always developing individuals, but do they recognise that for them to develop, they've got to be part of a team. Their teammates are important to them. Everyone's as important as each other. So the social side is really important.
It's massive.
And I think also if you think about it, the percentage of those boys that are going to get a career in the game, how important the psychological and the social side is, because they're going to come out of the game. What are they going to do? They're going to have to hold down a job. They're going to have to build relationships. They're going to have to, be in the community, be a good member of the community. So the social and the psychological side are really big.
Yeah, and also how they deal with rejection as well. I mean, just speaking from experience, my boy was at Millwall for 3 years. He got released as an under 11. Under 12s, he didn't play football. He didn't want to play. He took it that badly that he just had a year out, and then he went back into playing in under 13s and then played like the Kent Youth League and decent level. But it really affected him. And even when I speak to him today, he'll touch on that, how it affected him. And so it's a real tough one. They need to be mentally strong, don't they?
Yeah, and I think that is something, once again, that's another big change in the game. We're very, very conscious now of the boys, their mental health.
Huge.
We have a welfare officer,
a
player care officer. Every academy's got that now, at least one.
Yeah.
We've got that. He builds a whole program around life skills. So the boys,
What age does that start from, Mel?
From 9s.
That's great.
Yeah, from 9s.
Yeah.
There's a lot more inclusion of the parents now from when my boy was in the system. A lot more of sort of inclusion from the parents. A lot more sort of feedback. Individual development plans for the players. So there should be no shocks. There should be no surprises if the boys aren't retained. Because that process should have been gone through, and those messages should have been sold to him.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That you're communicating with the parent all the way through, so there's no surprises. Because I remember I got released from Arsenal at 15, and it was basically we didn't know where we were until we were waiting on a phone call, whether it was a yes or a no, and it ended up as a no.
Yeah.
And I took that really badly at the time, but there was absolutely no communication whether you might not. It was just we're waiting on this at the end of it. I'm going back to like 91, so a long time ago. That's really good that clubs are recognising that and communicating with the parents now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Just touching on parents, how hard are some parents? How difficult are they to deal with? Because obviously you're dealing with their little superstar. What are they like on the touchlines, stuff like that? Is it easy? How do you deal with those things?
I think things are changing. If I go and watch my grandson, for instance, in his little grassroots team, there's a lot of interjection from the parents from the sideline.
Yeah.
The coaches are on at the boys and quite demanding of the boys and autocratic, I would say, as a coaching style. But in the academy, I'll speak openly and honestly with our group. It's very, very rare that we have issues with parents. Very rare.
All very respectful.
Yeah. Listen, obviously you are looking after their son, and they want the best for their son, and so do we. But I think we have meetings at the start of the year. We have inductions for parents and for players. Explain what our what we're looking for, what our expectations are. And as I say, I can count on one hand the amount of incidents that we've had that have been serious enough for me to have to get involved, and a parent asked not to attend or anything like that. I haven't had that in sort of the 3 or 4 years, and going back over the 20 years that I've been in it. There's obviously been individual cases where mum or dad are unhappy and they'll have a meeting and those sorts of things. But very rarely that I've seen anything, on the touchline to cause me that sort of thing. There have been incidents, there have, but clubs deal with that themselves now. They deal with that in-house, and some of the sanctions and some of the things that we would do, we would ask the parents to deal to, they understand that.
Do you have a code of silence on the side?
We don't. No, we don't. We don't have a code of silence. We do ask them not to coach.
Yeah.
But what we try to do through the ILPs, they should know what their son is working on, if you like.
Okay. What's an ILP, Mel?
Sorry, an individual learning plan.
Okay.
Some clubs will call it an IDP, individual development plan, ILP, individual learning plan. So every 6 weeks, a boy will get an individual learning plan, and that might be the same throughout the whole season if they're young, they're 9 or they're 10, only trying to improve 1 or 2, 3 things. But the parents should be well aware of that, and they should be well aware of what we're trying to work on with the players. So we're quite open in communicating that to them. So all we would say is if the players or if the parents are coaching from the sideline, and we do have the odd shout and things like that, the coaches will deal with that, and the parents are quite respectful of that.
Yeah. Okay. So you're happy for them to encourage and clap, but
absolutely.
just not coaching.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I think in grassroots you get a lot of dads on the side, don't you? And they're coaching their kid, and
Yeah.
How do we not stop that? Because it's a real tough one, isn't it? And I mean, I'll speak to dads that have got kids and they've got young kids, and they think they know better than the coach. And some of the dads some of the coaches, the managers at grassroots level, they're not qualified coaches. They're volunteers. They're doing it for the love of it. For the love of it, because their kid plays in the team. But he's telling them one thing, then you've got the dads on the other side telling their kid another thing. It's a difficult one, isn't it?
It is very difficult, yeah. I mean, we recently had a piece of work done. A professor came in and delivered to our coaching staff. Simon Moore, his name is, and he was talking to us about how the brain works. And the young players just can't cope with that level of information whilst they're trying to process what's going on in the game. They're not taking that on. So whatever dad or mum or even what the coach is shouting, they're not processing that in the moment. They can't process all of that information. So there's really little point in shouting instructions at them, really. And he proved that in some of the sort of experiments he did with us, some of the scenarios he sort of showed us. Asking us to do tasks, and then he started shouting instructions at us. And people was just even us, as adults, you can't take it on. As adults, we just couldn't process it. Yeah, too much going on. Yeah. And you think about the situation the boys are in. No two situations are ever the same in football. It's all relative to time and space and where the ball is, where your opponent is, and what you're trying to do. Imagine a ball coming towards you. You're under 9 and a ball coming towards you, and you're thinking about controlling the ball while you've got,
three people telling you different things.
Yeah, 3 people telling you different things, and the opponent trying to get you to do something different. And you've got to try and think about getting the ball under control first of all. So.
No, that's really interesting, and it's just a little bit of a bugbear of mine where I see people on the side shouting and telling the kids and do that, and it's just leave them alone. The kids, man, just let them play, right? Yeah. Okay. What makes what are you looking for in a player, Mel, to come into Leyton Orient Academy? What are the main things you're looking for in I mean, obviously we know ability and that they got to be able to pass straight, etc. But what are you actually looking for?
We started to really focus on character.
Okay.
Yeah, really, what it means. We want boys who want to be at Leyton Orient, who want to play for Leyton Orient, and recognise the importance of what Leyton Orient is about. It's a family-filled club. It's built on the community, and we want them to really want to come and play for us. Really engage with it. We want them to have that, as I said before, that resilience and that work ethic. We've got 3 things that we sort of say around. We call it the O Academy, and 3 O's. So we work on outwork, outthink, outplay. They're the 3 things, like and that work ethic.
That's huge, right? At
any
massive level.
Massive for us. Outwork, First team manager with us, his playing style is a real high press. So even forward players, but it starts from the front. Yeah. The forward players, he wants them to be out press and play at high intensity. We want all of our players to be able to be able to do that. And I think that's, you know, something that's in the game anyway now. You know, it has got quicker, it's got faster.
Sure.
You know, players are more athletic. So yeah, outwork, outthink. So how can we outwit the opponent? You know, whether that's in a 1v1, maybe you in a duel.
Yeah.
You know, how do I get into
So you're looking for
the
football
side?
IQ.
Yeah, football IQ.
Yeah.
And you know, outplay. How can we develop overloads? How can we get our players, you know, our spare player on the ball? How can we attack in any given situation? How do we defend? And you know, in any situation, how do we outplay an opponent or a team?
Yeah, I like it. The 3 O's. That's good. You're talking about the first team manager there and the way he plays. Does that go down the line into the younger age groups?
Yeah, not maybe the principles.
Yeah.
Not so much obviously the formations
Okay.
or the strategies per se. Certainly with the 18s, we try and model some of the technical and tactical, or the tactical stuff that he's trying to get into the first team.
Yeah.
He does change formations. So we do that with the youth team. Not so much with the younger age groups. So we sort of, with the younger ones, we'll have 2 sort of models, if you like, sort of a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-2, a 4-4-2, I beg your pardon, and that might be sort of a diamond or something like that.
Okay.
But then when we're playing 7-a-side, it's based off of a 4-3-3. You know, the formation based on a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
It's just sort of, you know, taking certain players out of it, if you like. But with the youth team, we will play. Sometimes we will play a back 3. But more often than not, we're playing with a back 4 and a midfield 3 and a front 3.
Okay.
But there's some sort of stuff that you know, the manager likes to do with fullbacks rolling in, wide players rolling in, those sorts of things. So we do, you know, the coaches do work on that with the boys, you know, with the youth team, and down into the 16s a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's go into your coaching a little bit. So you've obviously had a really good career. What makes a good coach, Mel?
A good coach?
Yeah, what makes a good coach?
I just think it's that enthusiasm, being able to communicate with the players at the right level. You know, whether you're working with the foundation phase, and there's some expert coaches in the foundation phase, or whether you're working with the 21s, it's how you get your message. How can you get your message through to the players? And they're all different. People learn in different ways. So it's about that relationship. That's the thing for me, about how you build relationships with the players that you're working with. And having a clear idea of what you want to communicate, and then how you communicate that, whatever that message is. But just having that enthusiasm, really, and also the ability, I think it's something coaches wouldn't necessarily do as much of, certainly in grassroots, is that reflecting, you know, being that sort of, that self-critical, if you like, but also what went well. You know, so what was good about that session? How can I improve that? How can I take that to the next, you know, level? It's easy to go onto the internet and get a session off a top coach, but you know, that's just how it is on a bit of paper. What does that look like? You know, how did you transfer that to the grass and communicate that through to the players?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, especially when you haven't got the numbers you're expecting, you need to be adaptable as well, right?
Yeah.
That's
I think that is huge. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I think, you know, when you're starting out, that's something maybe you don't have. You know, you've got your numbers, you plan for your numbers, you put your cones out for your numbers and what have you.
Yeah.
And then you come, one missing or one extra.
Yeah.
You know, and it does throw people.
Yeah.
And I think it's having that sort of, that plan B or that adaptability. That's a really good way of sort of phrasing it. Yeah.
Well,
Really.
I mean, I've watched you coach, and you're a great coach. You put on great sessions, but you're very clear on what you do. And I think one of the main things as well for a good coach is being set up right. I watch coaches put sessions on sometimes, and they're faffing about, and they go into the next progression to there, but it's not set up, and then they're moving more cones about, and just get you set up right to start, right?
Yeah.
Make sure we can move from this into that, and you do that very, very well. Everything's very clear, everything's very simple for the lads to move from one drill to another.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that's maybe come up with. So when I went through my badges, so when I went from sort of UEFA C through to UEFA A, there was a new suite of coaches that came, coaching qualifications that came out after that, which are the youth modules. I don't know if you ever if you remember those or took any of those.
Yeah, I didn't take them, but I remember them coming.
Yeah, and they were delivered by the FA, and they were a new sort of branch of coaching, if you like. So you had sort of this pathway here, which was sort of the youth modules, and you had this path here, which was the traditional route, if you like.
Yeah.
And when I started to do these sort of youth module courses through the FA, and those 3 courses were the environment, the practice, and the player.
Okay.
And that's where we really got into, like I'm talking to you about relationships, how the players learn, how you communicate, all of that side of it.
Yeah.
The practice was how to design practices, and talking about the practice spectrum, talking about the differences, the returns on practice from unopposed through to matched up 11v11, the game, what that spectrum looks like, and also then around the player. That was the final one about putting the environment, the practice, and the player into one. So the player was always at the centre of everything. And they were really good qualifications that got sort of moved into, if you like, the UEFA C and the UEFA B, and got swallowed up a little bit. Okay. The standalone one is still the Advanced Youth Award. Once again, that sort of brings everything together into one equivalent of the A licence, if you like, for the youth modules. And the FA, to their credit, are now starting to think, or they are starting to bring those apart again and look at a B licence for elite UEFA B youth coaching. So looking at the game from a youth perspective as opposed to the adult game. But I always reference back to those youth modules as sort of, when I went to pathway, the A licence, B licence, those ones, what to coach. So a lot of the people that I met on those courses, Dick Bate was an absolute master, genius around the technical and tactical side of the game. But also a very good teacher and tutor, don't get me wrong, but it was very, very good and very highly technical. That what to coach stuff could break down any technique into 4 or 5 key factors that would could diagnose why that pass went there instead of going there, those sorts of things. And coaches struggle to do that now with the qualifications that we've got. There isn't as much technical detail going in, and the youth modules for me taught me how to coach. So this was what to coach and then how to coach, and then bringing that together, that's really helped me.
Define that, Mel. In what way how to coach? So
really that traditional pathway, if you like, we didn't really get into a lot of the environment. We didn't get into a lot of the practice design. So a lot of the practice designs, if you think about the UEFA C and the UEFA B, the practice design was given to you, really. It was grids. You worked in 10x10 grids. The game was the game. It was a 70x50 pitch. You had a phase of play, which was a 2/3 of a pitch with 2 goals on the over the halfway line, 1 big goal to attack, or a functional practice, which once again was on the pitch, but it was just a section of the pitch, if you like. So a lot of the stuff was done in rectangles or on a pitch with the pitch markings. Practice design around the youth module, you start to come sort of thinking outside the box, if you like, in working in triangles, working in circles, working in different shapes and sizes of areas, having areas that players could go into only after doing a certain task, if you like, end zones and things like that started to come. That's when I first sort of started to think about those sort of different, and then a lot of the stuff around constraints. So constraints on practices used to be pretty much 2 touch, 1 touch, 1 touch finish, those sorts of things. Now we're starting to think about constraining individual players and giving them sort of tasks. So for midfielders, how many times can you play to a front player with 1 touch? Those sorts of things, more related to the game, if you like, than just saying to him, you can only play on 1 touch.
Yeah.
Those, so it's constraints-based coaching, if you like.
So more realistic, more match related.
Yeah, in certain, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with saying to people that the players are on 2 touch. You do that for a reason.
Sure.
It's just thinking about the consequences, if you like. The trade-offs. Cause and effect. Yeah. If I put somebody on a 1 touch finish, I know that once he's had 1 touch, he's not going to shoot. So now it gives me a different psyche as an opponent against him, if you like. That's the trade-off. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Do you think? Sorry, go on, Mel.
Yeah, I was going to say. So obviously, and also it's thinking about the psychological side. So if we're putting a constraint on a practice that's sort of fixed, you're on 2 touch. It's obviously going to take out dribbling and things like that. Yeah. To a certain extent. Yeah. It'll take out decision making.
Yeah.
You know, when to have a third touch, when to have a fourth touch, when to play on one touch. What, you know, so we think about that side of things. So it's, you know, you're going higher on certain things and you're going lower on other things.
Yeah.
Just thinking about those.
Do you think some coaches are better suited to working with youth and some are better suited to working in the men's game?
I think so.
Just naturally.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, some of my coaches at Orient, some of the boys there, absolute experts with the younger ones, you know, the 9s and 10s.
Yeah.
I couldn't put myself in that. If I can, but you know, for them poor boys.
What is it? What's the difference?
Just,
what do they do?
It's just the way they are. Just like, you know, they're excitable, they're enthusiastic. The questions just don't stop.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, you know, they're running off over there, and you know, it's So yeah, I mean, those guys are masters there, but probably could cope with coaching the 18s, but wouldn't naturally coach. And the 18s coaches probably wouldn't naturally say, you know, I'd work with the 9s and 10s, you know, all the time. So I think we need to recognise that in the game. Those guys, you know, there's always been a hierarchy in the game, if you like, that the best coaches at 21s or in the academy system I'm talking about, the best coach is your 18s coach or your 21s coach. I don't see it like that. You know, I think they're all got their own, you know, their own qualities in whatever phase that they're working in. You know, I would never apply for a foundation phase, lead phase coach or coaching job because I just wouldn't be suited in there. You know, I wouldn't be suited in there. I'd be doing an injustice to the kids, really.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel I saw something about that years ago. That Ajax did something like that, where that exactly what you said. That it was a misconception or a preconception that all the better coaches had to work with the older age groups, and Ajax sort of flipped it, and not necessarily the best coaches, but they put top coaches in with the kids to bring them through at that age where they are sponges at that age and they're learning and to bring them through because I think the younger age groups. And obviously you're saying now it's changed in that way, but I think the younger age groups did used to get the sort of coaches that were just starting out.
Yeah, the novice coach, if you want to phrase it like that. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that would be, you know, the traditional way, if you like. That you know, you come in and you start at the bottom of the system as you do as a player. You know, you start as a 9 and you go through. Yeah. I think approaches are different now. Certainly, I can only speak for my own academy, but you know, we would try and recruit somebody specifically for the 9s, specifically for the 10s. Yeah. You know, and that person we would be looking to have experience there. I'm not saying that we wouldn't, you know, and I think it is good practice for people to go and work, coaches to go and work across different age groups. Certainly think that is, you know, take yourself out of your comfort zone and go and work in those age groups. But I think if I was looking to recruit a foundation phase coach, 9s to sort of 12s or 9s to 11s, I'd be looking for somebody who's got experience in there, somebody who's maybe works in the community and things like that, as opposed to somebody who's worked, I don't know, as an assistant manager in non-league. Yeah, sure. Who's got an A licence. Yeah. You know? Yeah, so totally different. Yeah, massively different. Yeah. You know? You don't need your A licence to work with the 9s and 10s, and that's not because they're not good players. It's just because you don't need that. You just need a fun approach to it and a basic knowledge, and do as little damage as you can. Really. Do you think a coach needs to be more technical to work with the younger kids? Is that when you're really working on the technical stuff? Yeah, I wouldn't say get the basics in. Yeah, I think so. We don't, if you like, we don't isolate it as much. So we don't, we wouldn't do an hour, a ball against the wall or an hour thing, because we don't have the time with the players maybe to do that. We do a lot around, we do technique work, but we try and build it into maybe interference-based practice where there is some level of opposition. Okay. And we certainly do it in sort of duels type practices. So we do a lot of 1v1s and 2v2s, those sorts of things. Yeah. But we're not specific in saying everything's in a 1v1, but we will build technical work into 1v1s, and then expand it and then look at it in the game. How does that look in the game? Yeah. Because obviously, as you know, playing the game, you've got to be competitive in your duel of that opponent that you're going up to. But the game is never 1v1. It's never 1v1 for long. You might get isolated in a 1v1 for maybe 1, 2, 3 seconds, but then your mate's coming back or something has happened off the ball. You hope. Yeah, you hope your mate's coming back. I was never coming back. I was always back there anyway. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was at Millwall for 4 years as a kid, and there was a coach there called Gary Stemple. I don't know if you remember Gary.
No.
Gary went on to run the community scheme at Millwall as well, with a guy called Ron Bell. They were fantastic people.
Yeah.
And I went on from being at Millwall as a kid to, it was Centre of Excellence then. I did my work experience there.
Right.
And just stayed around it and followed that path into coaching myself, where I ended up working at the Millwall Community Scheme for a few years when I was a little bit older. But point I'm getting to is Gary Stemple was a massive role model in my life. I really looked up to him. He was great with the kids. I really related to him. And I think he helped me through some tough times as a teenager.
Right.
Do you see yourself as a role model, and do you feel that where the lads are looking up to you as a sort of a role model, and they can confide in you and have honest chats with you? Yeah, the players, yeah.
I hope to be. I try to be approachable, I try to be open. I'm probably from a different generation, if you like, and a different background to where our boys are from. But what we have done is we've actually got somebody in the building who's an ex-professional player, an ex-professional at Leyton Orient, still currently playing at sort of non-league. Got his coaching, but he's also got his mentoring and counselling sort of awards that he did through university. So we've got him in the building as somebody that the boys can go and be mentored by if that's what they want. We've also got, as I said to you, like a player care officer. Yeah. So he's obviously part of that. And then we bring people in from outside, as I say, to deliver life skills and things like that. But yeah, listen, I do speak to the boys one-to-one. They can always come and speak to me. But they would probably choose to go to Jamal more than they would come to me because of that sort of, maybe that generational thing, or maybe that, background thing that he's played and those sorts of things, really.
Yeah, so it's nice that that's been identified now, and you actually have someone specific to do that. Whereas back in the day, I'm talking about the 80s, late 80s, where that was sort of, that wasn't identified. Obviously, as it's come a long way forward now, football and the academy football, and you were sort of looking as your coach to be that sort of guy as well, whereas now you've got separate people doing that.
Yeah, I think so. But I think maybe if you look at the coaches, are probably closer to that than I am as the academy manager. Certainly from an age coach, perspective, then they've got lead phases. So those guys are probably the ones that have got a closer relationship, if you like, with the players. I've probably got more of that with the staff than I have with the players. So with the coaching staff, obviously my background is the coaching and being a head of coaching, and a coach educator for the FA. I've got that background of mentoring coaches, and I still have people who I took on courses a long time ago are still in touch with me and asking me stuff, and I've seen them progress through the levels, and that's really rewarding seeing those guys now working in academies or working in a non-league game. I've got them through, started with me at UEFA C, if you like, and have stayed in the game, which is really rewarding, and still in touch.
That's great.
So many people go, "Oh, Mel, how are you?" Like, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember when I last saw you, but
Well, you must have had so many come through those courses.
We did. We did, and some good ones.
Yeah, I bet.
Some good coaches.
And any really bad ones? No, all good.
No, listen, everyone gets their level, don't they?
Of course.
People.
So same as playing, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And for me, if those guys and girls take something from the course and they go do a little bit better with the players, then brilliant. If they take one thing from it and go, I'm just going to do as much as I can in little games and let the kids make decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And like you said, add one practice that's set up that they can run for the hour. Great.
Have you ever had anyone fail a level 1?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's bad. We don't want to touch on that, no.
It was actually at Millwall.
Really?
Yeah, I worked for Millwall. Yeah. It wasn't for his coaching.
Okay.
He fell out with one of the other guys, unfortunately.
Okay.
So we had to say, I'm sorry, you can't come back. So whether that's a fail or not, I don't know.
He was removed from the course.
And we don't use the word fail anymore. It's not yet competent.
Oh, not yet competent. NYC.
Yeah.
Okay, like it. Just to finish on, Mel, how proud are you of yourself, of where you've come from and your journey through coaching to where you are? Like a fantastic job, really important role now, head of academy at Leyton Orient. How proud are you of what you've done in the sport?
I don't really think about it like that. Yeah, I'm really sort of more thankful for the people that I've worked with, if you like, that have sort of helped me.
Okay.
Some of the guys that are, you know, still out there doing the stuff, I'm more sort of thankful for them. I don't really think about it like that.
You should.
Yeah, maybe.
You've done well, mate. You should reflect.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure. Thanks for your
Enjoyed
insight and your knowledge.
Thank you.
Great, Mel. Thank you very much, mate. Best of luck for the future.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.